Why is that the most colorful slide you've probably ever seen at any of my workshops? Why is the introduction to my Eat Right workshop like a 1960s wallpaper? I love it, but it's a little obnoxious. Why?
Because that's what food should be. What we're eating, it is colorful. It should be colorful. The vitamins and the minerals.
Yeah, they estimate that there's about 100,000 what we call phytochemicals found in the foods that are part of our innate diet, part of our human diet. And that each of those phytochemicals, each of those different colors, actually establish and provide for us essential, not good ideas, but essential nutrients that we need in order for our body to function normally. So one of the things that we say is eat the rainbow. And by eating the rainbow, somebody says, I eat broccoli every day. Broccoli's a great food. But actually, the better strategy is eat some broccoli, some yellow peppers, some red peppers, some the variation, and because then we'll get all of our foods in.
Yeah.
Welcome to Eat Right. Great. Now, how important is this topic of eating right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to eat right?
10.
It's a 10. Now you guys just like brown nose in the teacher. Come on, really? How important is it that? It's a 10. You might want to just take the camera, just turn it this way a little bit so I can kind of be over here just a smidge. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So it's a 10. Okay, so then what would move right be?
A 10 too.
And think right?
10.
So hold it. You're telling me that in order to be healthy, we have to eat right, move right, think right, all simultaneously over an extended period of time. You're absolutely right. That's right. Tonight, when we talk about eat right, we're going to talk about it as if it's the only thing. Like we're always important. Eat right, eat right, eat right. We'll talk about nutrition. But if you come to a workshop on move right, we'll take the same approach to that. But we know in terms of what our ultimate goal is, which is health, happiness, vitality, and longevity, that we're going to have all those strategies going simultaneously over an extended period of time. That's fantastic. All right. We talked last week in our Pathway to Health workshop, which is really the introduction to the workshop series. But although each of these workshops we could look at individually, because they all contain a certain amount of information and concepts, but we could also look at them really going together like a whole course of what we'd call a Pathway to Health. And then we talked last week a lot about the secret of health being like creating sufficiency in all of our genetic requirements, which is to say, one of the things we say is, what do you need to be healthy? You need, give me something that all humans need. Not a good idea, but a need.
Water.
You need water. Is that a genetic requirement or a good idea?
That's a genetic requirement.
It's a genetic requirement, absolutely. Give me another one.
Air.
Air, good, give me another one.
Oxygen.
Give me another one. Give me something to eat right.
Oh, for the eat right.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go through it. Give me something to eat right. We haven't even had the class yet.
Well,
But,
protein.
okay, we need protein. Yeah, okay. Give you something else. Let me ask you this. Is it essential, is it a requirement, a genetic requirement to eat vegetables?
Yes.
Could you be healthy if you don't eat vegetables?
No.
No.
So it's not just like a good idea to eat your vegetables. It's actually a genetic requirement for every single human that's living on the planet to eat vegetables on a daily basis. If somebody says to me, I'm healthy and I don't eat vegetables, they're not telling the truth. They might not have their first symptom, they might not have their diagnosed disease, but they're already on a pathway away from health and wellness. So what we're talking about in terms of health and wellness is that figuring out what do you need. You need love in your life, you need activity, you need a good posture, good spine. Could you be healthy without good posture? Impossible. I don't care.
It starts to decline.
What?
It starts to decline your health when your posture starts to
Unless your posture is absolutely correct, it is impossible to be healthy. You could be eating right, you could have plenty of love in your life, you could be exercising every day. Without normal posture, it's impossible to be healthy. There's certain specific genetic requirements. There's another side of this thing, is to say that, okay, so how if I gave you everything you need? You had love in your life, you had activity, you had a proper diet, you had all of that, but you smoked cigarettes every day. You did everything right, but you smoked cigarettes. Could you be healthy?
No.
Okay. There's another part of this is that what do you need to avoid? And we know that there's certain things that are toxic to all humans. So basically, in this secret of health concept, is really just figuring out two things. What do you need, and what do you need to avoid, and then creating the disciplines and the lifestyle that gets you all the things you need and avoid the things that you want to avoid. And specifically today, when we talk about eat right, we're going to be talking about food and diet, but we're also talking about like, what's the whole chemical world? How do we surround ourselves? The fibers that we wear? What do we clean the house with? All of these things are in this topic. We focus a lot on diet today, but it's really, when we talk about eat right, we're talking about really the whole chemical world, if you will. Cool. When we think about eat right, move right, think right, all of them specifically have an impact on the part of our brain called the cerebellum. The reason why the chiropractor, every Tuesday night for the last 32 years, teaches these classes is for one very specific reason, and if you will, selfish for my patients, is that we realized that the patients that had a lifestyle of eat right, move right, think right, responded to the chiropractic care much more favorably, and their posture improved much better. And those that had eat right, move right, think right, maintained their spinal correction for a much longer period of time. And those, conversely, that didn't have a lifestyle of eat right, move right, think right, responded more slowly or very, very sluggishly to their chiropractic care, and they couldn't hold their adjustment at all. So we realized that we as the chiropractors really had two main jobs. One, fix the subluxation, fix the postural problem that the patients already have, and then two, teach them strategies for eat right, move right, think right, for lifestyle, so that they would get the greatest correction and then hold the correction for the longest period of time. And that's really how that all fits together. The key is, and remember this is a tagline that you would always want to think about, the part of my brain that manages stress is the part of my brain that manages posture. And the worse our stress is, the worse our posture is, and the worse our posture is, the worse our health is. The part of my brain that manages stress is the part of my brain that manages posture. Is there a human diet? So if I ask you, what do tigers eat?
They eat meat. They eat other animals.
Absolutely, they certainly do, and they're really efficient. What do deer eat?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I.
The deer are vegetarians. They graze on grass. They eat leaves. So they don't eat any meat whatsoever. Now, what happens if we fed a tiger a deer diet? We gave a tiger a diet full of leaves and grass and things for it to graze on. How would the tiger do?
Bad. Like it would die.
It would get sick and die. You're 100% right. And how about if we took the deer and we fed the deer the tiger's diet, and we gave them a carnivorous diet to a vegetarian? How would that animal do?
The same thing.
That's right. He'd get sick and die. Every species has an innate diet. Guess what, folks? We're a species. We have a specific diet. Now, our diet might be a little bit different in terms of what that is made up of, in terms of like, if I live in New York versus if I live in Jamaica. But it's still, the diet is the same in the sense that it's made up of fruits, vegetables, free-range meat, wild fish, nuts, seeds, and sprouts. That's the human diet. That's the diet for the last 5 million years that we've been eating. Now, if I live in New York, I might be eating berries and persimmons, and if I lived in Jamaica, I might be eating bananas and oranges, but I'm still going to eat the same topic of diet no matter where I am on the planet. Now, we'll get into the specifics of that, but humans have a specific diet. In terms of research of health and wellness, Bruce Lipton is one of the leading researchers on human physiology and longevity, and says that over 97% of the diseases are linked to lifestyle behaviors. So basically, how much research do you think they're doing in genetics right now?
A lot.
But guess what? Our genes haven't changed. The secret to health is found right there in the lifestyle issue. As a matter of fact, that's the vast majority of it. So if we can figure out what we need and what we need to avoid, and then come up with what I'm going to call the disciplines and strategies to do that, that's how we're going to be healthy. Cool. Let's look at what the innate diet came from. Over the last 5 million years, this is what we've been eating. A diet made up of free-range meat, wild fish, and vegetables, and that makes up the kind of the protein part of our diet, and it should be somewhere between 20 to 35% of their diet. Our carbohydrates in our diet should be somewhere between 25 and 40%, and that's made up, listen to this, fruits and vegetables, and we say that they're organic, local, interesting, local, fresh, vine ripened, which is tree ripened, so it's all the way ripened before it's picked, grown in vitamin, mineral, and probiotic-rich soil, and then our fats should come from organic meats and fish, vegetables, nuts, seeds. That's the human diet. Okay, that's our innate diet. 5 million years of evolution. The typical Western diet right now has actually less protein. Imagine this. Everybody's saying, don't eat too much protein, guys. We're actually, don't eat too much meat. We're actually eating less protein now. And the protein is of an inferior quality because it's industrially farmed, grain-fed meat and fish. Now the reason why I say grain-fed, what do cows eat? Normally, cows like deer, what do they eat in a natural state?
Grass.
Grass. What are most American cows fed?
They are like cornmeal.
Bravo! They're fed corn. And corn is actually not a grass, it's a grain. So we fed cows the wrong diet. So now the cows are not eating the diet that's healthy for cows. Okay. We're eating actually more carbohydrates, but unfortunately our carbohydrates are not coming from fruits and vegetables, they're coming from processed grains, sugars, and the worst of the worst of the worst, high fructose corn syrup. Our fats, about the same amount, but our fats are of an inferior quality. Our fats are now coming from grain-fed meats, dairy products, and unfortunately trans fats. Every species has a diet that is innate to that species. Now look at this cat to the left. His name is Putty. Putty's my cat. Now, I own a chicken farm. And Putty's one of my best friends. And I say, Putty, listen, this is the deal, buddy. What's mine is yours. I have a chicken farm. You're allowed to walk around the chicken farm and eat all the chickens you want. He's really a little tiger. So he's a total carnivore. I say, Putty, you have full range. You don't get in trouble. You can eat all the chickens you want. Do you think if I told Putty that's what he could eat, he would ever get that fat? If he was eating his innate diet, would Putty ever get that fat? Why is Putty such a fat cat? What's he been doing?
Processed foods.
He's been eating commercial cat food, which is made out of grains. Poor Putty, a carnivore, was fed a grain-fed diet, and that's why he looks like that. Now, it's not my cat. I would be really, you'd have to take me out and beat me.
Yeah, I was
my
gonna
cat
say,
ever looked like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it's perfect for the story. But yeah, so Putty, unfortunately, has been abused by being fed the wrong diet for his species. This cow over here that looks very sick and is very sick has mad cow's disease. Now what they did with these cows is they gave them not only a corn-fed diet, but they also chopped up pieces of other cows and put it into the cow food. Now the cow happens to be a pure vegetarian, but they gave him a meat byproduct, so yeah, just an absolute insanity. And understanding the wrong species for the wrong diet will all the time lead to illness, disease, and an early death, every time. Okay. When we talk about sufficiency in the human diet, we're talking about these are the things, what do we need? Our innate diet should be made of about 65% plant matter. And those plants are, by volume, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and sprouts. About 35% should be from flesh, and we would say that flesh, and it's not really just for the protein, but a lot of it is for the high quality fats, that the flesh should be about 35% free range meat, 35% of our diet would be made up of free range meat, wild fish. The human innate diet is very, very high in fiber, and it's very, very rich in omega-3 fatty acids. As a matter of fact, they're essential for us to have normal nerve conduction and normal health in our whole body. If you look at the innate diet, it's actually high in cholesterol. It would be considered a high cholesterol diet, but it's very interesting. By eating the innate diet, we have a very, very low blood cholesterol. Let's say that again. If you eat the innate diet, it actually, if you were to count how much cholesterol is in the diet, you would consider it to be a high cholesterol diet. But by eating that diet, we actually have low cholesterol, and this is how it works. Cholesterol, the body builds more cholesterol when the body's under stress. When we eat a diet that is not part of our innate diet, it creates a gigantic stress for us, and it damages tissue. The body builds cholesterol in order to repair damaged tissue. When you eat the innate diet, although it has a lot of cholesterol in it, it doesn't raise our blood cholesterol level, it just gets broken down and digested into our body. So by eating the typical Western diet, it actually raises our cholesterol. By eating the innate diet, we actually have a very low cholesterol. Eat by volume, So if you did this thing, I would encourage everybody to do this. For 1 week, take your phone out, and every single thing you eat and drink, take a photo of it. And at the end of the week, look at the collage and see what it looks like. And by volume, it should be this. By the biggest thing should be vegetables, fruits, free-range wild fish, free-range meat, nuts, seeds, sprouts. That's the human diet. Vegetables. We're going to say it's the mainstay or the anchor of our diet by volume. It's not that it has such a high caloric content, but you need lots and lots of vegetables in order to get the nutrients, the phytochemicals that we need for normal physiology. We want our vegetables to be organic, and when we say organic, what we mean in this instance is that they're not sprayed with chemical pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, or we're not using petroleum-based fertilizers. Then we want them to be regional. And what do you think I mean by regional? Why do I want to eat regional food?
Well, how do you know if it's regional?
Well, one thing, you can literally look at our own food and say, oh, grown in Chile, so it's not regional.
Oh, right,
that's one of the things.
okay.
But one of the things about eating regional food, there's a couple of things. One, if they pick food that we're eating in, let's say, California or in the Southern Hemisphere, then they have to pick it unripened. Because by the time it gets here, it would be mush. So they pick it unripened, and we know that a tremendous amount of the nutritional value of food occurs in the last few days of ripening. Right. So if we pick it before it's ripened, then we know that it can't have gotten its full maturity, its full nutritional value. It's also that just think about it, okay, so this, and also we talk about seasonal. Like in the middle of that bitter February that we had, did we want to be eating like lots of watermelon and mangoes? No. We wanted to have like some nice hearty, root vegetable soup or something, like something that was much heartier, right? Yes, but if you're in the middle of July and and it's hot outside, you don't want to be eating like potato soup or something like that. So the food that is happening right then, that's seasonal, is what our body actually craves and needs. So the three things to make this strategy work really well is to eat organic produce, eat it seasonally, and eat it regionally. Now it's not to say that okay, so are there any bananas grown in New York State? No. And it's not to say that I never eat a banana. But if you look at all the fruit that I eat over the course of the year, bananas would be such a small amount unless I'm in Jamaica. Then I'm not eating apples and pears, which don't grow there. I'm eating bananas and tangerines and mangoes and soursop and things that do grow there. So we say regional seasonal. Fantastic. Eat it raw or lightly steam it, so we don't want to overcook stuff. Phytochemicals in fruits and vegetables are very sensitive to heat, so we want to go ahead and eat as much raw as we can. And we say go heavy on the greens and the colors, eat the rainbow, and limit the starchy veggies like potatoes. Cool. Fruits, organic, regional, seasonal, same thing. Now a really good strategy for fruits and vegetables is that when things are in season, so like there's not that much. There are things that are actually growing in February in New York State. That's how the deer are staying alive, that they're eating. But it's not really, it would be kind of a limited diet. So we'd say when things are in season, if you freeze them, buy organic, buy local, buy things that were fully tree ripened and bush ripened, and freeze them, and then you can put them in protein drinks and things like that. So we're still getting very, very high quality fruits and vegetables, but we've got them frozen. It's actually way better than have stuff picked undeveloped from Chile and then sent up here. Now, sometimes in the middle of February, do I want a apple? Yes, if I'm getting an apple, it's probably actually not grown in New York State at that point, because they're just not available. And occasionally, am I craving grapefruit? Sure, and then I'll eat it. We want to have the mainstay of our diet regional, seasonal, and of course organic. Now, we're talking about all this fruits and vegetables for the nutritional value, but it turns out that since our species developed growing, eating somewhere around 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And a serving would say, we call it like a piece of hand fruit or a cup of vegetable. Now you're talking about like that's your daily intake of fruits and vegetables. It's substantial. That eating a diet like that, typically there are Paleolithic hunter-gatherer pre-agricultural revolution. How long have we been farming for? How many years? How long do you think we've been farming for?
I guess our whole entire existence.
500 years of evolution, 10,000 years of farming.
Okay.
From here to here, we were Paleolithic hunter-gatherer, which means we hunted food, or we went and we picked, if there was an apple tree, we knew where it was, but we didn't help that apple tree along. Just when that apple tree was bearing fruit, we went and picked it at the season.
Gotcha.
Then, about 10,000 years ago, people realized, well, hey, if we clear out the other trees around and we give the apple tree a little bit more sun and prune off the bad limb on it and help it along, we get more apples from it. So they started growing plants. So we've only been having agricultural revolution since the last about 10,000 years. Pre-agricultural revolution, we ate about 100 grams of fiber a day. The average Westerner, the average adult, eats less than 20. Now, a diet of less than 20 grams of fiber a day leads to, on the easy thing, constipation, hemorrhoids, varicose veins, high blood pressure, colon cancer, breast cancer. All of these things are absolutely 100% linked to low fiber diets. There's not even a question about it. I don't want us taking a spoonful of Metamucil to get more fiber. It's silly. What we want to do, because the thing is the fiber is in the same product that has the phytochemicals, the plant chemicals that we need to stay healthy. So in order for us to get them, we eat the fruits and vegetables. And with all that is the fiber as well. Say that, this is one of the tricky things. The Food and Drug Administration looked at this and they said, a diet of less than 20 grams, people have all these health problems. So let's give them 30 grams and see what happens. They gave them 30 grams. Their blood pressure generally did better, their constipation did better, their varicose veins did better. They said, wow, people get a positive response by giving them 30 grams. So guess what they recommended as a daily requirement?
30 grams.
Ridiculous. It's one of the stupidest science in the world. If for 5 million years we ate 100 grams a day, and then at 20 grams you're really sick, but at 30 grams you're just not quite as sick, we'll say take 30 grams. It's called junk science. What the real thing is saying, where did your species come from? If the tiger has a diet, and the deer has a diet, the giraffe has a diet, and a mouse has a diet, so do humans. And we figure, what is that diet? And they give you the diet if your goal is optimal health and wellness. So longevity, vitality, that's what we want. Yeah, cool. What is calcium? What do you use calcium for in the body?
The bones.
Everybody knows that. I love that. It's spectacular. Bones and teeth, fantastic. What do we do with carbs?
For energy?
Fantastic. That was the best thing I could find out for energy. Someone like energy? Yeah.
That works.
Okay, fantastic. Protein. What do we do with protein?
Builds muscle.
That sure does. Fantastic. Builds muscle. Great. What do we do with fat? What does the body do with fat? I'll give you a hint. If anybody ever calls you a fathead, say thank you.
The brain.
Brain, 60% of our brain is made out of structural fat. It turns out that the membranes, the outer layer of the cells, of all the cells in our body, are also made out of fats. So that's why there's no word called essential carbohydrates, but there is a word called essential fatty acids. Not good idea fatty acids, they're called essential fatty acids. And essential fatty acids should be in a certain ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s. For every 3 omega-6s we should have at least 1 omega-3. If you eat a piece of free-range salmon or free-range deer, that's its ratio, about 3 omega-6s to every 1 omega-3. If you eat lots and lots of corn, which has lots and lots of omega-6, your ratio starts to get distorted to be very, very heavily omega-6 dominant. So if we start to eat animals that have been eating lots of grains, corn and wheat and things like that, then their ratio is off, so our ratio becomes off. And what we found in studies with Westerners is that the average Westerner has somewhere between 20 to 1 to 50 to 1 omega-6s to omega-3s. This is what happened. We didn't eat, so how long have we been eating grains? And when I say grains, you know what I'm talking about? What's a grain? List a grain for me.
Like wheat,
Wheat,
Give me another one.
corn,
Give me another one.
rice.
Good, give me another one.
Is it soybean?
Soybean is a legume, but it's also a problem food.
Yeah.
Quinoa,
Okay.
barley,
Oh, quinoa,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
So all of these are grain types. And what they actually are, millet. They're actually seeds of grasses. They're fully matured seeds. What species on the planet eats the seeds of mature grasses as the main part of their diet? Birds. It's actually bird food. Cows eat the blade of grass, but not the seed. Birds eat the seeds. There's different parts of it that are used by different species for their part of the diet. But it's not part of the human diet. How long have humans been eating grains, seeds like this? Seeds of grasses. How long?
Probably last 2,000 years.
10,000 years, Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia, the agricultural revolution. When they started taking care of that apple tree, they also said, what happens if we took this really fertile soil and we planted seeds in it and we grew them and we only let one thing grow in this area? And they realized that of all the things that they grew, that if they grew grains in the same square footage, they could create enough calories to feed, to give lots of people sustenance diet. So we could grow grains, and we went from a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer that was eating that innate diet to the agricultural revolution. We started growing grasses and feeding humans bird food. And that bird food is not part of the human diet. So consequently, it creates all kinds of stresses. What's the main grain that's eaten in the Western Hemisphere?
Wheat.
Good. What's the main grain that's eaten in South America?
Right. Oh, whatever.
the rice.
It's
Rice, and you also said, starts with a C, it sounds like corn.
Oh.
Corn, maybe corn, yeah. What's the main grain that's grown in Asia?
Rice.
Absolutely. We've gone from Paleolithic hunter-gatherer, eating this vegetable, fruit, free-range meat, wild fish diet, to, if you will, modern man eating a grain-based diet. And it's not part of our innate diet. And consequently, since we're eating the wrong diet, just like putty, it's one of the reasons why humans are the sickest species on the planet. Wow, okay. Because of our deficiency and our imbalance in omega-3 fatty acids, I recommend that everyone take an omega-3 fatty acid on a daily basis. Now, this is one of those products that it's worse if to take a low-quality fish oil is worse than taking none. But to take a high-quality fish oil is what we've got to bless you.
Thank you.
One of the best things that you can do for yourself in terms of your overall health and wellness over a long period of time. So this Innate Choice, which is what the product they make is called Omega Sufficiency, being sufficient, Omega Sufficiency, and it's literally, the reason why it's such a great product is the first thing is they use small fish. They use anchovies, herring, and sardines, and so the fish are only 1 year old, so they haven't had a chance to get a bioaccumulation of all the toxicity in the ocean. One of the things. Second thing is that they filter out the mercury and the PCBs and things like that that are in the fish anyway. Even though it's only a 1 year old fish, it still has some of that junk in it. So they filter it out. They're really careful about that. They also put antioxidants. If you were to leave fish out on the counter, why would the fish, for 3 days, why would it smell so bad? Is it the protein? Is it the meat that's going bad, or what's going bad?
The bacteria?
Is it the mercury that's in it?
It's the oil in the fish that's going rancid.
Oh,
That makes it smell like the back of a shrimp boat, is the oil is turning. So if you take a vitamin, a fish oil capsule and you bite it open and it tastes like fish, or if you take it and you get a burping taste of fish, that means that oil has already gone rancid, has oxidized. So what this company has done is they use an antioxidant, which is literally rosemary and lemon in it, to keep it from oxidizing. Then this other cool thing they did, you can get it in capsules or in the bottle. And the bottle has a spout that's built like this, so that when you turn it back over, the last few drops go back into the thing, so you don't get any of this oxidation problem. So this is by far the great thing. Omega-3 fatty acids will keep your brain size at normal structure. The brain listen, if you're building proteins in the body and you're missing a building block amino acid, you can't build that protein. You cannot substitute another amino acid for that. But fats are different. If you don't have the best quality fat, like omega-3 fatty acids, your body will make whatever it's going to make out of the next best, which will say all omega-6s. So your brain will literally have the wrong structure. If you don't have enough omega-6s, it'll make it out of omega-9s. If you don't have enough omega-9s, it would make it out of trans fats. If you don't have enough normal fats, your brain would make more brain tissue out of motor oil if it was the only fat available. So the thing is, if you don't give the body the normal fats, it will make an inferior structure, and now we're talking about your brain. This is a product I would start taking tonight, if you're not already, and I would take it literally for the rest of your life. Cool. Probiotics. I have one of the greatest cleaning ladies in the world, but on that countertop, there's bacteria. It's everywhere on the planet. That bacteria is either healthy, fine bacteria, no problem, or it's pathological bacteria. The innate intelligence of my body is going to evaluate what that bacteria is, and it's either going to go ahead and fight it, or it's going to embrace it and let it in. If I walk into 10,000 years ago, I go into the woods and I pull that apple off of that apple tree, and I eat that apple, all over the covering of that apple are normal, healthy bacteria. My body has receptor sites, what we're going to call addresses, that for probiotics, for normal bacteria, and there's about a quadrillion of them in my body. Now you've got to get to the quadrillion, you've got to go from millions, get to your billions, to get to your trillions, to get to your quadrillions. We're talking about a quadrillion receptor sites. And 80% of them, 800 trillion of them, are found in our digestive tract, in our large intestine. Those healthy bacteria have a tremendous job to play in our immune system and also in the digestion of our foods. If that receptor site, that address, does not have a normal healthy bacteria in it, it creates a home for a pathological bacteria or a virus or a yeast to move into. So if we don't take in enough probiotics every day by eating the apples out of the forest that have the normal bacteria in them, then we are deficient in that probiotic material, and consequently the microbes that are pathological, we walk into the subway, we touch the handle, we touch our eye, we get all these other microbes in. If they're pathological microbes, they're going to go ahead and move into that address. Now the cool thing about this is that in the presence of normal probiotic material, probiotics will go ahead and push pathological microbes off the receptor site. They have the advantage. It's their house. They've got the lease on the house, they've got the owner, it's their property. They can move in and they push away the pathological microbes. The problem comes in is if you don't have enough probiotics, then the pathological microbes will move in. And then your immune system spends all of its time fighting these microbes 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Okay. So the problem comes in, when was the last time you walked in the woods and picked out a piece of fresh fruit and didn't wash it and eat it?
I don't think I've ever done that.
Okay. But that's where our species came from. So unfortunately, we consume about 1 millionth of the probiotic material that we did in our innate state. So one of the only ways to get around this is to take probiotics as a supplement. And in each capsule, the one that we recommend, have 15 billion bacteria in each one, and it's a way that we go ahead and re-inoculate ourselves. So even if, now I happen to have a 6,000 square foot vegetable garden and 100 fruit trees that I have, so we eat like that. But having said that, I still take a probiotic material because in the middle of the winter where all the fruits and vegetables are frozen, we're not getting that same kind of inoculation that we would typically get. One of the greatest things that you can do for your immune system is to take probiotic material. And that makes it so that the normal healthy bacteria can live in those receptor sites so we don't get the pathological microbes moving back in. Cool. I said before, the two questions are really what do you need and what do you need to avoid. We just spent the whole first part of the workshop just talking about what do you need. Give me something that you need in your diet.
As part of the regular diet?
Yes.
Water.
Give me something else. I just something besides water. Something else. Thank you. Veggie. Give me something else.
Meat.
Yes. Give me something else.
Seeds. No, not seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could
like
seeds,
nuts.
but not grass seeds, but seeds
Right.
like pumpkin seeds,
Yeah.
sunflower seeds, like that. Yeah. Give me something else.
Natural fatty oils.
Fantastic. Good. Give me something else. It begins
Wild
with an
fish.
wild fish. Give me something else. It starts with an F and it sounds like fruit. Fantastic. Good. Yeah. Great. Good. Fantastic. So good. So these are not good ideas. These are part of our innate diet, and we should know at any one time what's in season, what's growing around us. You think 200 years ago anybody would not know what was in season in July? Everyone would know because you'd even know where it was that you would go to get it. We're so disconnected from it. What fruit are in season in August?
Strawberries.
Good. Yes.
No.
Yes. They're actually more of a June, but yeah. Okay. July. Give me a July fruit.
Lost completely.
Right.
I'm not sure what
Yeah,
fruits
right.
are prime when,
Right, so
honestly.
it's kind of crazy, right? Because
Right.
you figure for 5 million years, we would absolutely know exactly what was in season when. We've gotten disconnected to that. And what I'm saying, it's not that hard. And the cool thing about it is one of the things, just going to the grocery store and say, if you watch the prices, say when the prices drop, it means the stuff is in season.
Yeah.
And you'll see lots and lots of it. Now, some of the stuff that of course, we're getting food now from Argentina, we're getting from Chile, and so things come from far away. But if we're looking for local, seasonal, regional, that's one of the greatest ways to eat. Fantastic. The flip side of this is what do we need to avoid? Now, it's actually in terms of what do you need and what do you need to avoid. This is kind of tricky. It's actually easier to give yourself everything you need than it is to avoid everything, and this is why. There's 100,000 human-made chemicals in our environment that were not there, get this one, 200 years ago. And the vast majority of them in the last 50 years. So we are bombarded with all kinds of chemicals that have been shown to be stressful to human physiology. Now, it can't necessarily affect or kind of determine that the truck that just went under the overpass, when you put their brakes on, that they spewed off toxic chemicals off of the brakes, and we're going to breathe that in. I can't do anything about that tonight, but I can choose what I'm going to eat for dinner, and I can choose what I'm going to wear for fabrics and what to clean the house with, and if we get rid of all the Teflon pots, there's a lot of things that we can directly affect. And one of the things that we've found out is that the better you get at, if you will, eliminating the things that you have direct control of, then the bigger your circle of influence gets, and the more you can control more and more things as time goes on. The first thing you got to figure out what is toxic, and then we're going to start to move away. In keeping with our conversation about dietary, about food, I want to talk about one of the number one toxins that people eat every day, and it's grains. Now, it'll sound like Rosa, like, oh God, he's just a bread hater. The problem here is that it's become the mainstay of our diet. Now, I happen to just like everybody, sure, love the taste of bread. We grew up with it. We thought, the staff of life, we thought it was great for us. It turns out, since it's not really part of our innate diet, that it actually is quite stressful to us. Every non-fiber carbohydrate is toxic. So any carbohydrate that we eat that's been stripped of the fiber has a toxic response in our body. And virtually every non-fruit and non-vegetable carbohydrate is toxic. Right now, Westerners eat around 200 pounds of sugar a year. Just imagine if you had those 5-pound bags of sugar, you had 40 of those piled up, that's what the average Westerner is consuming. And about 30 pounds of high fructose corn syrup, which is an absolute poison to our body. Our body's not really built, our innate intelligence is not built to manage these chemicals, and consequently they become gigantic stressors to our nervous system and to our physiology as a whole.
What about the Ezekiel bread? Because it has a lot of different things in it, but no.
It would be like this. Okay, it would be like this. So you could take sprouts
Yeah.
and you grow the sprouts, dry the sprouts, make a flour out of them, and it's basically gluten-free. And sure, and I don't have any problem with that. And then also someday you might walk by a restaurant and say, oh my God, Rose got a piece of Tuscan bread in his hand. He's just about to eat that toxic piece of Tuscan bread. What I'm really talking about in this thing is that, yes, is it a stress force? Positively. Are there different levels of it? Sure. And so Ezekiel bread's going to make a way better choice.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of like essentially don't eat it. And then for the rare occasion, it's almost like I look at it as like, and I always say Tuscan bread because that's what I like. That's what the bread that I happen to like to eat. Is I'd say that I look at a piece of Tuscan bread the same way I look at a piece of chocolate cake. I eat it for, if you will, for the fun of it, not for the nutrition of it. It's not like I'm saying, oh, chocolate cake, boy, is that a nutritious thing. I'm saying, like, I don't like a piece of chocolate cake. So on the rare occasions when I'm going to eat it, I'm going to fully enjoy it and I'm going to have the one that I want. But I'm not going to make that as the mainstay of my diet because we've gotten the thought that grains are actually in the food pyramid, which is really a crazy pyramid, that it's something that's good for us that we should have lots and lots of. It's actually not true. All right. A cereal-based, and when I say cereal grain, I'm talking just about grains, okay? A cereal grain-based diet. When we eat this, one of the things that happens right away is our blood sugar level goes up. You can hold a piece of bread in your mouth, and the enzymes just in your mouth will digest that and it'll absorb sugar into underneath the tongue. So it's a very, very easy to digest product, and when you eat it, your blood sugar level soars up. When your blood sugar level goes up, the body has the pancreas secrete insulin to force the sugar from your blood cells from the blood system into your cells. Say that again. I eat a high sugar content food, like a grain, my blood sugar goes up, the pancreas secretes insulin, the insulin drives the sugar into the cells of my body. Works perfectly. The body says, I need some sugar in the brain, but I don't want too much. The brain wants a certain level of sugar there, not too much, not too little. So I keep eating this grain-based diet, and I keep producing the pancreas keeps pushing the sugar into my cells, and eventually it starts to store it as fat. So I get more fat reduction. If I have too much fat reduction, it leads to things like obesity, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and stroke. This pathway of sugar, everybody knows about. And it becomes a problem. But there's a lot of people out there that are running marathons, and they're working out, and they're eating a grain-based diet, and they don't gain an ounce of fat. So you'd say, well, so then is it okay for them to be eating sugar? This is the problem. As the pancreas secretes this insulin, the body starts to become resistant to the insulin. And it says, hey man, you're pushing the sugar into the cells. The cells don't want all this sugar in there, stop it. So the cells start to become resistant. The pancreas says, no, man, I got a job to do. And my job is to get the sugar out of the bloodstream. So the body produces more insulin. The cells say, too much, enough already, I don't want any more sugar. So they become more insulin resistant. And this, so they say the body cells begin to see insulin as a toxin when being exposed all the time. The pancreas secretes more insulin, it's going to yell more to be heard. It's going to tell the cells, take the sugar in. That stress stimulates our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight part of our nervous system. It sees literally that cereal from the insulin resistance that it creates as a stress to the nervous system. As that keeps going on, it develops human stress hormones like cortisone. As that starts to develop further, it suppresses our immune system. As that continues to go on, it builds problems like allergies, digestive disorders, depression, and autoimmune disease. All you got to do is look at what drugs are selling on TV, and you'll see that that's the list right there. And if you keep going on with that, it leads to the bad stuff, which is literally diabetes, cancers, and other chronic diseases. It's not that a bowl of pasta gives you diabetes. It's that a lifetime of bowls of pasta give you diabetes, and it's matched with other stresses simultaneously, like stresses of subluxation, like stresses of emotional stress, like stresses of lack of move right, that all this compounds together, and it gives you the cancers and diabetes that much faster. This pathway, for me, is the much bigger issue, because you could manage this pathway with just exercise. But that pathway, no amount of exercise, is one of the reasons why athletes and children are the groups that are rising in diabetes so much, because they the concept of I'm going to run a marathon, so let me eat pasta, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Toxic food and additives to avoid. Bad fats. Give me a bad fat.
Anything that's like, I'm just trying to think, I don't know. You're talking about just like a saturated fat?
Yeah. So we'd say a bad fat would be like a low-grade fat, a fat that's oxidized, a fat that's been cooked several times. Trans fats. All those things are literally toxic fats. Hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil is not good for you. MSG, bad thing. So monosodium glutamate, bad. Aspartame, artificial sweeteners. I'd much rather take spoonfuls of sugar, put it right in your coffee all day long than have aspartame. Aspartame is a neurotoxin. Chemical food additives and colors, avoid all of that stuff. Non-fiber carbohydrates, corn syrup, absolutely toxic. Processed and non-fiber carbs, flour, pasta, bread. They're in my list of what I say rarely. Have them rarely. Limit your grains to wild rice and whole oats. Listen, you can have some of them, but just don't go crazy with them. Grain-fed, antibiotic-fed, hormone meats. Early harvested fruits and vegetables. Now, somebody says to me, I don't have the access to, I don't have a freezer full of organic fruits and vegetables. Then I would eat early processed, early harvested fruits and vegetables, but start to move in the direction. So we said when it's blueberry season, I'm going to go ahead and buy them. And you can go into the grocery store right now, and they have bags of frozen organic blueberries. Great way to do it. They have all kinds of frozen organic fruits and vegetables that you can get now, which are great. Dead water. We do a class specifically on the kind of water. Chemical toxins, cleaners, dyes, perfumes. You got to be really careful about what you clean your house with. Kind of move into a much more natural thing. Non-stick, like Teflon and Teflon. Don't even give that stuff to the Salvation Army. Literally throw that stuff out. That is toxic stuff to cook on. And be careful not to beat up your fruits and vegetables too much. Eat them as raw as possible or lightly steamed.
What about toothpaste with fluoride? Is that?
Yeah, this is a really controversial topic, and for me, I would definitely stay away from fluoride. Fluoride is very, very toxic to human nerve tissue. So okay, so in one slide, the whole world of nutrition Ro puts on in one slide, and this is what it is: sufficiency and purity. And it's this: a plant-based diet, eat raw fruits and vegetables that are regional, seasonal, organic, grass-fed meats, fresh wild fish, seeds, nuts, and sprouts, and a gallon of water a day. That's what you want to be moving towards. Yeah, and what that is a half a gallon of drinking and a half a gallon for the fruits and vegetables. Yep. So that's what we would be concerned. Yep. Purity, literal no consumption of processed grains or grain-fed meat. Remember that the meat should be free range. So it's eating grasses, and that's what keeps that healthy. And then we're eating healthy meat. Yeah. Little or no consumption of processed sugars. Little or no consumption of dairy products. Little or no spray. I'm saying literally little or no. But then the stuff that's absolutely no is the real fake foods. The red dye number 2, the yellow number 7. That stuff, just get that right out of your diet, straight off the board. No hazardous cooking or cleaning materials. No chemically treated fabrics or clothing.
What about eggs? I don't see anything about eggs.
We've been an egg-stealing species for 5 million years. Have at it. And eat the whole egg.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so why am I teaching all about this stuff? And this is really it. We know in an environment of eat right, move right, think right, in terms of if we had our innate diet, that our nervous system has a communication loop from body to brain and brain to body that is how we stay alive. The body says to the brain, this is what the environment I find myself presently in. And the brain says, I've been around for 5 million years evolutionarily, and I know exactly what to do with it. So the brain tells the body how to respond to the circumstance that it is. This communication to our nervous system gives input for accurate evaluation of the environment. Like before, when I said I touched this right here, and there's bacteria in my hand, my nervous system has to know what if that bacteria is good or bad through the function of my immune system. My immune system is still controlled by my nervous system. So it has to be able to know what's really going on. Then the brain says, I know exactly what to do about it. I'm going to command the body to respond appropriately. This communication loop leads to optimal nerve function, which always leads to optimal health. When we get lots of eat right, move right, think right, and correct posture, it leads us to a brain and a body chemistry that's linked to health, wellness, learning, growth, repair, love. It's interesting. When they look at the chemistry of the brain, when it's learning something, it has the same chemistry as when you're in a love experience. It has the same chemistry when you're in a growth experience. Lots of this gives you lots of this. Cool. But we know that there's another part to this. That in an environment of not eat right, move right, think right, of stressors in our life, that the brain and the body can't communicate. Those toxins, traumas, and negative thoughts interfere with the body-to-brain communication. This interference is called a subluxation. We'll talk a lot about that in other workshops, but we're just going to say right now what the subluxation is, it's how your body responds to the negative stresses. It has to do with an interference from brain to body and body to brain. What actually happens, and I said it to you before, the part of my brain that manages stress is the part of my brain that manages posture. And as the stress increases, it causes a worsening of my posture, and that's what causes the interference to the communication from body to brain. It really all boils down to what's the stress of your body, how does it affect your posture, and then how does that posture affect your life. The reason is we can't communicate from our brain to our body if our spine is crooked. It's literally as simple as that. This subluxation doesn't literally just stay for a day, a week, a month, or a year. It literally goes on for decades. And those decades of stress and interference keep the body from being able to signal to the brain. So unfortunately, we get a disrupted impulse that leads to an inaccurate evaluation of our environment. Communication, brain still tries to communicate down, and that disrupted impulse leads to improper response to the environment. This interfered nerve function leads to poor health every time. When we have this, we get this. Illness, disease, fear, a brain that's linked into survival and breakdown. We said before that if your body's functioning normally, you have the brain chemistry of growth, love, repair, advancement, all those fit together. Well, those stressors create a brain chemistry that's linked to illness and disease. It's the same brain chemistry we see in people under stress in what we call the reptilian brain. It's as simple as this. Create a lifestyle, eat right, move right, think right. Fix the subluxation that you have, and then your body will function optimally well. And that's what we really want for everybody. Cool. I'm going to show you 2 cases, and then we'll say goodnight. The x-ray on the right is a normal pediatric x-ray of a 2.5-year-old. When you look at the side view of the neck, so you look, it's facing this way, and this is the top vertebra, and we notice that there's a space between the top vertebra and the skull, and that all the vertebrae line up, and they're just developing a gentle curve. Now, in an adult, that curve is going to be a 42-degree curve, but in a child of this age, it's really just a curve beginning, so it's in the teens, but it's nice and it's beginning to curve. This x-ray here is an x-ray that we took of a 2.5-year-old when he came into the office. But it was interesting. It says his aunt is a chiropractor in California. And she said, and when he was 6 months old, they already knew that Jason was having all kinds of developmental problems. And she called me up and she said, hey, would you be willing to take a look at my nephew? He's not doing well, he's not eating, he's not sleeping, he's not pooping, he's unresponsive, he's just not, what they describe as failure to thrive. So I said, by all means, bring him in straight away, we'll take a look at him. I never hear from him. A couple months later, she called me back up, she says, he's doing terribly, but the parents are so freaked out, as I'm suggesting it, they're just not moving on the recommendation. So I said, well, just keep encouraging them to try to get him in. At 2.5 years old, he finally comes in for his first visit. He sees a physical therapist 3 times a week, an occupational therapist 3 times a week, and a speech therapist 3 times a week. Doesn't really respond to any. He's got gross and fine motor coordination problems. He's got hypotonia, what they call floppy baby syndrome. He can stand, but just doesn't have the normal kind of strength developing in a little kid. And he doesn't say any words, and he responds to about 5 words. So he's literally, you've been around 2.5-year-olds, you know what they're like, yeah. So he's absolutely not developing normally. We do an examination with him, and remember, he has 9 doctor visits a week, non-therapy visits a week, but he's not responding to them. And I do an examination with him, and see, the first thing is that he holds his head like this. I'm like, that's not normal. So we do an examination, and then we take an x-ray, and this is what we see. The normal discs that should be parallel front to back are totally wedged and compressing nerves. That normal space between the skull and the top vertebra, his skull is actually slammed down on that top vertebra, causing brain stem compression. Now, I'm doing the examination, and then literally his mom starts to cry. Like, what's up? She's like, for starters, I've been telling the doctors about that posture from the beginning. They said it has nothing to do with it. And she said, I feel like such an idiot because I waited and waited, and my sister kept on telling me, get him checked. But every time I brought it up to the medical doctors, they said, you think your son's problem is that he's got a bad back? Now, it's so short-sighted. We're talking about the function of our brain and our nerve system, which control the function of our whole body. We're not talking about back pain. We're talking about, can the brain communicate with the body? So we take a look here, and what we find is that his subluxation, his misalignment, is at the very top of his neck. His skull is literally slammed down into the spinal cord like this. His mom says to me, and Dr. Rowe, by the way, we're moving to Virginia in 30 days. So I'm like, okay. So I adjust Jason 3 times by bringing his skull from this down to this. And we open up that thing, and this is an x-ray taken 10 days later.
Wow.
Now the cool thing about this story is that it took me 3 adjustments in 10 days to correct that subluxation. But the absolute horror story about this is that this little guy has to live, and I don't know how else to say it, in the prison of that subluxation for the first 2.5 years of his life. Basically because people don't understand that the way that the body functions is that the brain sends signals to the body, and the body sends signals to the brain through the nerve system. And we need an open, clear channel if that's going to happen correctly. That subluxation was choking him out. When we released that subluxation, his body started to respond. His hypotonia, the floppy baby syndrome went away. His spinal gross motor coordination got way better, and he started to actually, the speech therapy that they were working with him started to improve. The great thing about this is that if we understand this, then we say we don't adjust people because they have low back pain. Yes, subluxation causes low back pain. We don't adjust people because they have neck pain. Yes, subluxation causes neck pain. It causes problems with immunity, it causes problems with fertility. We adjust people because they're subluxated, because they have misalignments that are causing stress in their nervous system. And there's no other way to fix it but to do spinal reconstruction, postural rehabilitation. But if we do that, then it opens up the communication from brain to body, and the body can function normally. That was a 2.5-year-old. This is an adult. I get a referral from a family, and they say, our mom's not doing well at all. She's basically spending 22 hours a day in bed. Her sciatica is so bad, it's a pain running down the back of her leg, that she can't stand up. She's walking with a walker, she needs an attendant. She's basically just like, her life is just, it's gone in the crapper totally. So they said, we bring her in, we do an examination, and we drop a plumb line in this x-ray from the center of her skull straight down. That's supposed to be in the middle of her spine. And we see that she's 1.5 inches off. She's literally standing, she stands like this. So we come up with an adjustment, a traction, a maneuver, routine for her care plan to say, how can we start to work on it? We see her 3 times a week for 3 months. We take a comparative x-ray, and she goes from 36 millimeters to 11 millimeters. Fantastic. She's starting to come upright. The stress is beginning to come out of her legs. She's walking. The walker's gone. She's released the attendant. She's now starting to get her life back. We change the attraction, the adjustment, the maneuvers. We see her twice a week for 4.5 months. We take this x-ray, and she's down to 2 millimeters.
Wow.
Fantastic. The great thing about this case, she's 83 years old.
Oh my God.
Now, what we've just looked at is a pediatric x-ray and a geriatric x-ray, but really what this is about is literally everybody that's walking on the planet. That gravity affects all of us, and if we bend the twig and so grows the tree, if we're crooked, subluxation is going to keep developing. The key to this is to fix the subluxation we have, and then to create the lifestyle, eat right, move right, think right, that will go ahead and keep it in place for a lifetime.
But for the example of the 2-year-old, he must have been born that way, or
No, birth trauma.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
He had a very rough delivery. It was the mom described to me the force. It was horrific that they used with him. So he was so unsafe during the birth process. Now maybe that was the only way that they could have delivered it, but he should have been checked that day.
Yeah.
When there's that kind of trauma, and we feel that all children should be checked immediately, like as a prenatal check, check their spine and the nervous system, because the trauma, how they sit in utero, if mom's pelvis is twisted, then the uterus is not exactly right, so they can develop asymmetrically. And there's no other way. You can dance, sing, and try to get around this. There's no other way to figure it out but to do an evaluation of the posture and position of the spine to see if it's functioning normally. You guys have your innate rules with you?
Mm-hmm.
I have this thing about always, sometimes, rarely, and never. The always is what we talked about tonight. This is what you need. But sometimes I want to eat cooked vegetables, so I eat them. And sometimes I want to, I want a banana. I don't live in Jamaica. I'm just craving a banana or a grapefruit or whatever, so I'm going to eat it. That's fine, absolutely. Rarely, we're going to have the treats, what we would call the treats. But if you're going to go for the treats high quality, you don't eat a Twinkie, you eat some natural baked goods. Even if it's refined flours, you keep it as close to natural as possible. My favorite cultural foods. Listen, I love Mexican foods and I love the spices linked to it, and it's legumes, beans, and rice, and as a mainstay of this, and none of those are good for you. So I eat them sparingly and enjoy them when I'm eating them, but once again, it's like I eat that, if you will, for the fun of it, not for the nutrition of it, if you will. And then we have the never stuff, and the never is the fake, chemical, artificially colored, artificially flavored foods. We just keep them right out of it. So what does this program inspire you to do today? Like, what are you going to change today?
I think it's baby steps to get rid of the grains.
Because you're eating lots of them, or you just...
No, well,
don't
I
for
mean,
it?
I was explaining going to my my family, I was overexposed. I don't eat like that anymore. I think with a lot of pastas and everything, and it really affected my energy and just, I felt horrible. But I still have, when I still have whole wheat bread and oatmeal for breakfast, and so that's something that.
And so how would you, so if you said, I've been doing this 7 days a week, so what would I do, what's for breakfast tomorrow? Tomorrow's going to be breakfast and I'm going to have none of that stuff, what would you have?
Eggs, but I usually have eggs with bread, so I'm
and if you had eggs with some cooked vegetables and you had some nice cut fruit, you feel like, oh my God, I didn't have bread, it was just a worthless breakfast?
No, I could do that.
Yeah, so you just do that, and then see, the thing is, I don't want to create such a tension about this thing. I just want to say, I'm eating this way and I feel better, so I'm gonna eat that way the vast majority of the time, and just here and there, I'll have the treat and I don't even stress about it. And for me, if I'm going for the treat, I'm going for the treat. I'm going for something that I really, if you will, like the taste of. I don't like it because it's not good for me, and there's a little bit of stress there. We'll talk about that during Think Right. But if I like the taste of it, I grew up with those tastes. There's cultural things linked to it. I don't stress about it. I do it rarely, and I keep it really to a minimum, and I keep it natural. No like egg beater substitution. You're eating the stuff, but if you're eating it all the time, you're going to cause yourself trouble. So who in your life needs to be inspired to be in this class, to get involved in this program, to get their spine checked? Who needs to go next? Every Western has 43 people behind it. Who's the person that you think that you want to inspire to take a step? Maybe someone who's about ready to crash into the concrete wall with their health. Maybe they've already crashed, or maybe it's somebody that you just love and you want to get them kind of on track.
Well, for me, I always share everything that I learn here with my mom because she's overweight and she eats a lot of, grains, and I keep telling her, she to cut down on that, but it's hard for, that's what she grew up with.
Right.
So
that's what we all grew up with.
Yeah.
And so the first thing she needs the information. That's great. So you're sharing with your mom. Great. Does she live in Florida?
No, she lives in Boston.
Lives in Boston. So if I get you a referral in Boston, would you encourage her to go get checked?
I could try. I don't know. She gets scared of
Set
trying
up her
things
own
new.
ways.
Yeah. But I can.
Being
try.
healthy and having a health problem is way scarier.
Yeah.
So so we've got to, that might be scary to do something a little different, but it's way scarier once we hit the rock wall.
Yeah.
For me, my brother, I've been actually trying to get him to join me in this program since I started it last year. But he's very stubborn and reluctant. So what I've done at home is that I tend to, because he does come to the house often to just come in and hang out, I tend to make sure that I have things that are healthier. So if I'm gonna make, something that's, let's say, ground beef related, like I'll put vegetables in it. I'll make it with turkey or chicken meat as opposed to the ground beef, and other things to that effect.
Fantastic.
So it's like little steps
what would be
with
the
him.
next big step with him? Like does he need to get checked? Does he need to get
Yeah,
things in?
so I think he went to the doctor now. He did say,
What kind of?
like his regular, physician.
Yep.
But what I'm trying to do is get him to come to, excuse me, the program here with me so that he could start learning more things that he should be eating properly, because he's really off track with that. And when I mean he's really off track, he is the person that will go every day to the corner Chinese restaurant and
So
eat the egg rolls
so he needs some help, and he needs
and the rice.
How old is he now?
He's 46, I believe. He's like a couple of years younger than me, so.
Would it help?
And he
if-
looks so much older than me. It's it's ridiculous.
So
He
it's not-
looks like 10 years, if
Not
not
us,
more,
yeah.
older than me, and he's almost 3 years younger than me.
Would it help if Dr. Arbuckle gave him a call?
We could try that. I'm gonna see, but I don't want to just.
Yeah, so this is what you do. Give Caitlin his number, and then you go talk to him, and you call Arbuckle and say, okay, I told him he's going to call, and Dr. Arbuckle will call him and chat. And then sometimes literally when the doctor invites somebody in, say, hey, we're doing class, why don't you come to class?
Right.
And those people say, I just got a call from the doctor, I'm going to get my tail in there.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I'll try that.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Great. Next week is
Trivia.
The
trivia week. Fantastic. Now, for those that have been to classes, you have an absolute